Do you guys remember Marvel released that film, The Eternals? And at the end of that film, it said, The Eternals will return. Yeah, it's not happening. Cancelled, done, dusted. That was probably one of the biggest missteps, I think, that Marvel had, which I think everyone was very, very, very aware of. Very, very, very aware of. Those that watched the film anyway. Ha! Because basically no one did. Terribly boring film. Actually, one of the very few Marvel films, and I think probably the only one, that I legitimately almost fell asleep in. It was so incredibly dull, so incredibly boring, and yet also very paint by numbers. Weird. Weird. And then you've also got one of the leads, Kit Harington, who was also being set up to play another character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, basically just being like, look, I didn't take it because it was different or interesting. Just took it because Marvel, I guess. Good times. Good times. Anyway, let's take a look at this. This is comical as hell. And I will say this. Do you think that Marvel has learned their lesson from Deadpool and Wolverine? Yes or no? Let me know down below. Because there's a lot of talk now. There's a lot of talk floating around of Marvel firing activist producers and things like this, and really pushing out and getting on a path to some prosperity again, and obviously good content as well. Do you think that they've learned or not? Thoughts down below. Anyway, let's take a look. So, Kit Harington, who was going to play the Black Knight, I think it was, something like that. Was that what he was? Black Knight? Some bloody character, anyway. Yeah, Black Knight, that was it. Anyway, so Kit Harington quips, I'm not going to pretend I took MCU role in Eternals because it was different and interesting. If Marvel calls, you've got to do it. Good times. I don't have much to say to that, to be honest. I think it's dumb. So Game of Thrones isn't the only major franchise Kit Harington is unlikely to return to at the moment. In 2021, the actor made his Marvel Cinematic Universe debut as Dane Whitman in Eternals, and the character was a supporting role in the movie. Yeah, he was kind of like a lovesick puppy in that film. It was bizarre. Yeah, weird. Very, very weird. But Harington was being positioned as a major new addition to the franchise. The post-credit scene for Eternals teased Dane becoming Black Knight in an upcoming Blade movie. How's that working out for you, Marvel? Oh, Kevin, me old Feigster. How's that working out for you? How's that Blade movie coming together? God. So while Eternals ended with a note suggesting... It didn't suggest. Variety did not suggest. It out and out stated the Eternals will return. Will return. Didn't suggest. It was a statement. Statement of intent. It will return. Anyway, while Eternals ended with a note suggesting that the characters would return in a sequel, the Chloe Zhao directed tentpole was a box office disappointment with $402 million worldwide, well below Marvel standards. And then they've just come out and said it. Marvel is reportedly not developing a sequel at this time. So they won't return them, will they? The Mahershala... Someone ribbed me for how I said that before. I do my best. All right. The Mahershala Ali starring Blade movie that Kit Harington's Black Knight was being teed up for has gone through multiple overhauls, and it's unclear what the future holds for Harington at Marvel. So he's probably just done now as well. What weird sort of implosion Marvel's gone through. It is odd. Like, it really, really is odd. They were... I guess it's odd to a degree. It's not really when you take a step back from it. They were on top of their game for a while. And then after Endgame, it just all came crumbling down. Directionless. And I think one of the benefits of what they had done before was they sort of laid the framework for multiple things to happen. And so they could tell, you know, the feedback and things like that and what people were interested in and sort of navigate the MCU in that direction that people were interested in. Obviously, they were still teasing the Infinity Stones and things like that. But it wasn't like out and out, you know? Like the Tesseract was... Like, that wasn't an Infinity Stone at that point, was it? It was just the Tesseract. Whereas after Endgame, they've just been so directionless and nothing has quite stuck. And I think that comes from hubris, to be fair. Just sheer arrogance. They've just been way, way, way too arrogant. Believing that they know best, when very clearly they don't. Because they clearly don't know what people like. So, while the actor didn't offer up any details in a recent GQ magazine profile about whether or not he's continuing with Marvel, he did quip about his brief time in the MCU. I'm not going to pretend I took that role because it was different and interesting. If Marvel calls, you got to do it. And then Variety just keeps condemning Marvel here. Marvel has been developing its own Blade reboot with Ali for the past couple of years. Yep. 5 years now. Although it has faced numerous development issues, the movie was announced in July 2019, 2 years before Eternals set up Dane Whitman's connection to Blade. Bassam Tariq was the first director to join Blade, although he exited in September 2022. I mean, three years. That's crazy. Roughly 2 months before the film was set to begin filming. But it was never going to begin filming, was it? Let's be honest. Several screenwriters have also been announced through the years, from Watchmen scribe Stacey Osai Kufor to Michael Starbury. It was announced on June 12th that director Yann Demange was exiting the movie, and that a new screenwriter, Eric Pearson, was coming on board. My God. These people. Anyway, so as for Harington, he's staying out of the franchise spotlight for now. While he flirted with the idea of reprising his Game of Thrones character in a Jon Snow spin-off series, he ultimately backed out because there wasn't a good enough story to warrant his return. But you'll star in the Eternals. Fucking what? What I can tell you is it was HBO that came to me and said, would you consider this? My first reaction was no. And then I thought, there could be an interesting and important story about the soldier after the war. I felt that there might be something left to say. And a story left to tell in a pretty limited way. We spent a couple of years back and forth developing it, and it just nothing got us excited enough. In the end, I kind of backed out and said, I think if we push this any further and keep developing it, we could end up with something that's not good, and that's the last thing we all want. Hilarious. Apparently there's a lot of baggage that goes with playing Jon Snow and returning to the world of Jon Snow. And I think that was part of the problem. Again, remember, he starred in the Eternals. In some ways, you need to divorce yourself completely from this previous thing. And we're only a few years after it. The role will always be just such a significant factor of my life. It might very well be the biggest, most important piece of work I do. I met my wife on it. I have kids from it. Have some lifelong friends from it. I'm recognised in the street because of it. But it was also working against what I'm trying to do, which is separate myself from the show. By still being with it, it would be very hard to ask people to see you as something else. Well, there you go anyway. I just thought this was comical. No more Eternals. But again, kit mate. You didn't want to do Jon Snow, but you did the Eternals. Funny. What do you guys think? Let me know down below. Love to hear your thoughts. I just think this is highly comical stuff, and Variety really rips Marvel a new one here. So, thoughts down below. If you're new here, do hit subscribe. Support me further via my Patreon. You can find that link down below. It's the first link in the description box. Cheers, guys. Take care. Bye-bye now.